Today, we're going to be going over how exactly you'd be able to do Upwork outreach, especially if you're running an SMMA, a social media marketing agency. So if the challenges of finding jobs on Upwork are posing a problem for you and you're unsure of how to navigate its complexities for successful outreach, then you're definitely in the right place. So by the end of this video, you'll have the exact knowledge and know-how, and most importantly, confidence on how to transform your Upwork outreach game, which will lead to attracting more clients, attracting the clients that you desire, which is definitely important, and how to actually sustain this growth using Upwork. Similarly to how I've helped one of my clients, Dean, earn an additional $10,000 in revenue within the first month and a half of us working together, completely through Upwork. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first step is Upwork profile optimization. Listen up, guys. Everything that I'll mention in this video is completely pointless if you don't get this part right, because your Upwork profile is basically your landing page. It's your social media page. So you need to pay attention, because there's no way anyone will take you seriously or trust you if you don't already have some form of social proof or track record on the platform. Let's say you found me on Twitter and you wanted to book in a call with me, or you found my account interesting. Perhaps if you felt that the services that I offer would be applicable to what it is that you're offering as a service, but you then find out that I only have 10 or 100 followers. Like, chances are you're definitely not going to opt into the funnel or into booking a call with me, because I just be another random on Twitter. So it's the same concept on Upwork, and this is the most important part of creating a very good profile, is the fact that you need to be able to leverage results that you've already gotten. If you don't have the results, you have to work for free, or at least do some form of work for a very low gain in order to really gain anything from this or appeal to a client, because you're essentially competing with, let's say, 20 to 50 other people, especially if you're doing SMMA for one job. So if you have no portfolio elements and you have no social proof, then you've pretty much already been taken out of the runnings, because there's no way they're going to trust someone who has 7 years of experience with 30 portfolio elements. They have 30 case studies. There's no way they're going to choose you over them unless it's a matter of pricing. And then even then, there's always someone who can do it for less and that probably has better results than you as well. So you first need to stand out by having a very strong portfolio. And if you're a beginner, you can always create or do free work for someone that perhaps you really admire on the platform. Perhaps you wanted to do graphic design work and you found that my logo sucks. Then you say, okay, well, let me do a free logo for you, and if you like it, then you can pay me by doing a testimonial for me. Or even if the person doesn't respond to you, you'd still have the logo to show off your expertise and your graphic design ability. So it's a win-win. Moving forward from there, apart from having a track record, you also need to have a video introduction, because it's coherent with having a track record, because the whole point of having a track record is to get the prospect to trust you. And one of the major factors that pushes trust is interaction, whether it be physical interaction, virtual interaction. All of these are an indicator of some level of trust, or they can foster trust in someone. So definitely have a video introduction, and it has to be filmed in a certain way. Again, all of these elements fall into a matter of trust. So even your profile description, you need to get to the point with it, which is why I preach the HWRW format, which also in turn requires for you to have some form of track record, because it replicates a process that has worked for you in the past. So I go over these in more detail in another video. I'll likely leave the link to the video up here somewhere, so you can go and check that out in explicit detail. But you need to understand all of these elements before you really move on to the next step, which is the Upwork job search itself. So one of the things that makes Upwork a very potent form of lead generation, especially for agency owners, is the fact that the leads are already warm. So unlike cold emails and LinkedIn outreach, they already want what you have to offer and they're actively looking for it. Otherwise, why would they be on the platform? It would make no sense. So although this is the case, you still have to find them. So let's go over how to do that. So starting off, the easiest way to get this done is through search filters. Now, search filters is essentially like a URL bar. The search filters are essentially the same thing. However, you need to be very specific when doing these search filters. So you want to do meta ads, for example, but you type in meta ads and that's only one aspect of the filter. You're still seeing jobs such as Google ads, TikTok ads, Reddit ads, etc. You're seeing jobs that you don't want to, which further dilutes the entire search and makes it that much harder for you to actually find who it is you're looking for, your ideal client. So you need to specify that you're looking for Meta ads, and you need to exclude other ad platforms. So you say Meta ads, not Reddit ads, not Bing ads, and so on and so forth. So you need to exclude all the words that you don't want to see. And if you don't do this, eventually what you're going to find is that you're seeing too many jobs that, you know, it's not your competency, and then you get frustrated because you're essentially saying there aren't enough jobs on the platform, this is a scam, blah blah blah. Heard it all before. Moving on, so the qualifications of the best jobs. So in terms of what makes a good job, the first thing that I typically look for is the rate, which is what many of you are oftentimes influenced by. However, I don't share the same opinion of just looking at the rates at face value and then thinking that this is all the client can pay. That's not true. So once upon a time, I was doing Upwork for myself. I had over 40k in earnings or so, still have the account top rated plus whatever it is. But I started out just as everybody else with zero earnings. And it was when I had zero earnings that I realized I needed to have a more refined search to provide the best odds for me to gain a job. So how did I do that? I filtered by first off rates. So I basically was only searching for the lowest quality jobs in the beginning. I started at $15 an hour, which is, you know, notably higher than what minimum wage would be in my country, Jamaica, but it's baseline for any quality freelancer or freelancer starting out. So I started with that, and then a fixed budget of $300 and no less than that. So even though I was a beginner, I was willing to be paid $50 per job. But I started with these two, so $15 an hour and $300 for a fixed price, and I didn't move from there. So that was my requirements. Those are my non-negotiables. The job was more, great. If it was less, I would never apply to it. Why? Because oftentimes people don't really know how much the job actually costs. So they might be looking for a Meta ads expert and they want them for like $300, but in reality, if you want a quality Meta ads expert, it might cost you anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000 per month or so. But they don't know that because they're not as in tune with the service. Remember, oftentimes people go onto Upwork because it's the very first thing they think of when they want to hire someone else. Simple as that. Moving on to the next aspect, which is the location. Now, I only apply to jobs within 4 locations. So the United States, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and parts of Europe. Typically, it's the western parts of Europe. I apply to jobs from nowhere else. Why? Because you want the highest quality clients possible. The clients that you can get results for, and the clients that are also willing to pay you the sum that you've asked for. It makes no sense taking a job in a third world country, especially if you're offering something like ads, when you know they're more often than not, the ad spend is much lower because they have less to work with, meaning that it would be that much more difficult to actually get jobs, and it would reflect poorly on you, and then the client will typically blame you for their lack of results. So it's self-explanatory. I definitely would not apply to any job within those locations. So moving on to the third aspect, which is proposal sent. Now on Upwork, you'll see that every job has an indicator as to how many proposals have already been sent. It starts with less than 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. Now, if you're applying to a job and there are more than 15 proposals sent to it already, then you should just give up on that job. Now, many people won't agree with me when I say this, and there are of course outliers to every single situation, but you need to think of the competition on those jobs. So you'll find that Upwork sales cycles are incredibly low, and they tend to be immediate in the sense that as soon as the prospect has found a person that they deem to be skilled enough to work on the project, then they'll waste no time. They'll instantly hire them. So you're essentially competing with all 15 of those other individuals, and if you were to show up to the party late, chances are they'd have already found someone else during that time. You'd be wasting time and connects by doing that. So the easiest way to avoid that is, and this ties in with the fourth and final aspect, is time. Since the proposal has been posted, you want to stay in between a time of 30 minutes to an hour. Ideally, you don't want to pass that. The best results I have seen are when I've applied to jobs within 15 to like an hour of them actually being posted, because by that time not many people have seen the job yet, and there's still a huge window for potentially winning that job. job. So both time and the amount of proposals sent is significant in the chances of you landing that job in the first place. So that should be something else that you refine in the search. And then the last thing is just to know your competencies. So if you know you're a meta ads expert, don't attempt to look for jobs like in TikTok ads or Bing ads or Reddit ads or any other form of ads. You need to play into your strengths as opposed to trying to be a jack of all trades. If I'm looking for a meta ads expert and I'm faced with 2 applicants, one applicant has been doing meta ads for 10 plus years and they have a track record that reflects that experience. They've only done this, as opposed to this guy who does Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Bing ads, etc. There's just no way I'm gonna pick the latter over the former. There's no possibility where I would, because I'd prefer to have a complete expert who I know knows the ins and outs of the service, and that's all they do. So know your competency, never divulge from it, play into it. Now the third step is the art of proposals, which is the actual outreach. I really like this part. So this is where most people actually mess up. So they think the job proposal is the most important part, but it's actually just the cherry on top. Because if you have a great proposal and a shitty profile, it's like putting whipped cream on dog shit. An analogy that many of you probably have never heard but can definitely relate to. So assuming you've done everything I've told you so far correctly, and writing effective proposals simply boils down to giving people what they want. So essentially reading the job description and crafting a proposal based upon it. So not sharing your life story with the prospect because they just don't care. And I want to go on a tangent on this because many of you write in proposals are writing at least 4 to 5 paragraphs on why they should hire you and why you need this job to feed your family and why you need this job or else you'll die, blah 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 blah. Nobody cares about that. So you telling the prospect about all of these things, it's irrelevant, because all the prospect really wants is for you to solve the issue or the problem that they're experiencing. You letting them know that you need this job and how desperate you are is actually doing the complete opposite. It's turning them off from it. So try not to share your life story and try not to write an epistle, because nobody wants to read a book while trying to find someone to do the job for them, right? And lastly, just let them know what to do. So if we're starting off the proposal by grabbing authority or establishing authority through writing about personalized first line for them, letting them know that, hey, we've done jobs like this in the past, this is our track record, we can do this and more, here's our competencies, etc., and we get straight to the point, then we also need to follow through with that authority by letting them know what to do next. So book a call if you're interested, or is this worth exploring, etc., etc. So just CTAs, right? Push them to make or perform an action. That's all you're doing. So proposals don't have to be complicated. It's just most people make them complicated. It's either you can do the project or not, and whether you'd be able to work together in the first place. That's literally the entire point of the proposal, is to book a call in the first place. So get them onto the call, then feel free to do the sales process. And lastly, another one of my favorites is volume. So now that you have your profile optimized, you know to find qualified leads and you know to outreach. Only thing that's left in order to scale is volume. And this is probably the part that everyone hates, but it's essential because you have to be watching the job posts like a hawk. So if you were to follow every single thing I've said in the video so far, you'd understand why forming volume at scale is so difficult. It's because you have to keep in mind all of these aspects, especially of these jobs, the search filters for the jobs. Because, you know, I said earlier that time is a huge piece. The sooner you apply to a job that's been posted, the greater the chances that you'll get a response and then eventually a meeting. It's reality. Now, if you wanted to do this at scale while not wasting thousands of connects, then you'd need to pretty much be living on the platform, which is not feasible for the lot of you. So this is the exact reason why I offer the service that I do, where I'd essentially take over that entire process for you and book you an additional 5 to 10 qualified calls using Upwork per month. So I take care of this entire process for you, and all you'd have to do is show up to these calls. Now, with that being said, that's gonna be the end of the video. Now, if you enjoyed the video and you liked the content, then be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video, guys. Peace.